Thank you guys for watching this breakdown with SVDP on his music video Black. So if you guys do enjoy this breakdown, please like, share, subscribe. Let's get to it.
I said, came for the money bag, stayed for the pussy gang, green from the bullet wounds, blood from my bully, bulletproof, black windows on a black Cadillac, black leather, black gloves, black metal, black mask, back in this bitch with a bag of new tricks, new kids on the block, boy bands coming in, bands coming all colors now, worldwide popping sideways, not stopping when the reaper come knocking like bang, 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 bang. Tell him I ain't home and I ain't never plan to enter it. We been going naked, staying loaded with banana clips. Wish a dummy wouldn't watch us turn them into mannequins. Put up to the disco, watching people started panicking. All we ever wanted was a shot at being heard instead of being shot at by the local news and all the cameramen. All we ever needed was each other for the come up on our stomach, always starving while we looking for some answers and trying to get any leg up on anybody, trying to come on body up before we get it just to benefit. Oedipus, motherfucker really had no clue who we messing with. Running amok and moving through zombies who dead already. They label us all as radicals, animals with machetes, but we don't move with no weapons. The blade is my mother's tongue and the only language I'm speaking with piggies is burning apart.
Okay. Was this shot mainly in studio and then everything else was building on the computer?
We only did one outside shot. Everything else was shot in the studio.
Yeah. So like stuff like this.
This was just on the floor of the studio, and then in post, I just added, all the specs and the blood. Actually, yeah, and the wings.
And the wings too, because the wings look so.
Yeah, so this
real.
Is interesting because this is a great example of me using AI, and this is something that if I didn't have that access to it, I would have to hire, like a SFX
wardrobe,
artist.
or even wardrobe to do practicals
Exactly,
for
to
it.
do wardrobe and do it practically. But here's the thing. When I was shooting the video, I didn't have the concept of what I wanted to do. I just know I wanted that angle. I just wanted this angle of the overhead angle and it like zooming out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, like what would make this look interesting is if like an angel had plummeted to the ground and then I'm rapping as an angel that had just fallen from the sky. This is one of the first images that I worked on. It's not that I had the whole world in my head already, but as I was kept making each scene, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I see what this is turning into. This is like a battle of like hell and heaven in purgatory, this chaos that has broken out in purgatory. But that was only something I realized towards the end of the video after I had made these scenes. So this was one of the first that inspired that. So it wasn't like I went into the video like initially and being like, hey, I got to create this world where heaven and hell collide. Yeah.
This was the ideation came in post for that.
A lot of the ideation came in post. And for me, the way that I like to work is knowing the type of movement and performance that I want. So I know that I wanted a certain type of movement. I wanted a certain type of like style in how I'm rapping, but I wasn't fully sure of what the world would look like.
That's wild.
Yeah. So there's a lot of experimentation. And I think that's the thing we were talking about with AI is because of AI, I was afforded to like audition so many different styles that I could actually take this to. I made the first iteration of the wings with Midjourney like 7 months ago, and then Midjourney released an update, and then I just kept updating these wings as Midjourney kept.
God, it looks amazing.
The thing I like to do with AI is have a more collaborative relationship as opposed to just like a prompt. So it wasn't like I put in an image of me on the floor and then I said add wings and then it just made these,
Yeah.
I put the image in, it would give me a whole bunch of iterations, and then say I would go through like, I don't know, 100 of them, take that, put that into Photoshop, I would play with it, edit it, put that back into Midjourney, and then, it was like a back and forth thing until it finally got something that was sort of right. I'm like, okay, then I comp myself into that. So it was a very like back and forth and kind of tedious process.
Dang. That's crazy. Just a question about wings. Because Made in Jaffna, there was like a part where
it's a reoccurring thing in my work.
Is that for a reason, or is it just fits with the visuals like as you're going along with it?
You know what? I think it's been in like a unintentional kind of a theme within my work. I grew up as a Catholic, so I went to church a lot, and I was brought up religious, very religious household. And so, just the symbolism of the Bible and church, and I grew up with that. And unfortunately, in hindsight, I'm like, I don't know if that was necessarily a good experience. So I've always had this battle between my relationship with God and how, ironically, how the church has interfered with that more than helping me find God. That's always prevalent in my art, is like my conversation, I guess, with religion and God.
Just because we're talking about religious like symbols, the makeup
Oh yeah, that was I think
that.
that's kind of like a consistent makeup, that backwash.
Oh, okay.
Where yeah, it's part of like their aesthetic. The reason why we got backwash on this, it was like, man, it's just aesthetically something makes sense with y'all. And I'm like, I saw it. I'm like, yeah, I see it.
I love that, and that's I was questioning it, and I was looking at it. I was like, oh, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
For this like centaur scene, is this a full body shot and like the lighting? Were you just extending like filling this frame out?
Yeah, the only thing practical in here is my face.
Is this your upper body, or was it just like this?
No, you know what? It might have. I don't even think it was my upper body,
It's
dude.
just it's literally just
I
this.
look,
Like,
yeah. Like,
okay.
I don't mind it. It's a jack.
Yeah, I was like, dang, this guy really just took his shirt off for this scene. Because if I was like that, every video I'd be, you know what I mean?
No, that was just like, again, this was an idea that I'm like, this. I like this lighting on my face, and I didn't quite know how to make it look cool in a wide shot. And then I've always had this idea. I'm like, yo, I just want to be a centaur in one video. I'm like, oh, this would be the perfect way to like incorporate it.
And then this, where was this recorded? Is it
This
like
was
part
this was
green?
green screen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this was green screen. So backwash was fully green screened, and then I had the reference from the Victory video with Busta. And again, I made like a mock-up style, just a mock-up for Photoshop. And then once I got something that I liked, I fed that back into Midjourney a whole bunch of times. But this took a while for it to like get it right, because I had to go through so many versions where the the footage I had would still work, right, in
Yeah.
terms of proportions and lighting. So that was the challenge. I think because we have so little control over like the images that are made with AI, it's a bit difficult. I think that that'll change within like the next year. There's a lot of like fidgeting around and making sure. And the fun part about this video is that I wasn't too hung up on the technical things. I'm like, I wasn't
Yeah.
too hung up on if it was the perfect lighting match, or I was just like, is the vibe there? Like do you feel something? Like, does it look cool when
Yeah.
you look at it? Is the vibe? I'm like, yeah, the vibe is there. Like, because you can zoom into any one of these and you'll see a whole bunch of mistakes. I'm like, I don't care.
But
I'm
it's like the imperfections with it too. I
exactly.
feel like yeah.
The whole I think that's what made it so punk. Like, even the song, Latch's the producer of the song, his computer has crashed with the stems of the song on it. I'm like, fuck it, that's even more punk. We don't even have the stems, we don't even have the like everything was just so like, you get what you get. Like, we weren't trying to make this polished product.
Yeah.
Sonically or visually, we're just like, this is the element that you get. Yeah, okay, even if you go back to that gorilla stomp or whatever, I was like, what I wanted was a gorilla smashing a car, and for the likes of me, I couldn't get it, and all I can get is the gorilla, and then it looked like it was picking up another furry creature,
like a bear. It almost looks like
it looked like yeah, and then in my head, I'm like, oh, even the imperfection of AI is even cool for this. I'm like, this looks cool. I'm like, I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's not what I initially wanted. But then it kind of suits like this weird, surreal, you're in like a dream state of like, what is it? Is that a car or a bear, or is it another version of himself? I'm like, oh, and then I like that idea of like embracing these imperfections, because it's like a technological imperfection, but I'm like, oh, but this is dope because it aesthetically it fits what I'm going for.
It's cool because it's like imperfections, but it because of how it flows, and like no one ever thinks of the way of imperfections as it being fluid. Do you know what I mean? Imperfections are always like a black or white, like it's either right, but it is imperfect. But then there's like this morphing that happens where it's like,
yes,
it just kind of works.
It works. That's exactly it. And that's what I loved about experimenting with this and not taking everything so seriously. Because like, I think there's a part of me where I'm like, I hope people don't watch this and think that I'm trying to be like some technical guru with this, because or like the way I want you to watch it is just like some dude that's just letting his imagination run free.
One of my favorite shots.
Me too. Love the shot.
Like even the way the wings flows with the face and like the contrast between the colors.
Yeah.
So is this just a regular overlay, or did you put this whole frame in AI and then just
No,
like
this is an overlay. That dove might have been just like some stock footage that I found.
yeah.
Manipulated it a whole bunch. But yeah, this is another scene where I'm like, how could I make this interesting, the side profile interesting? And for me, I'm like, oh, this would be cool when I'm rapping regular speed and you have this like slow motion dove, you know, kind of like warping time. This is like a juxtaposition of like time and lighting, right? It's like this really well lit dove, and I'm silhouetted in the back, and I'm rapping regular speed, and the dove is moving super slow.
slow, yeah.
So kind of like it is a little bit jarring, but it still looks beautiful.
What the fuck is this scene? Need to start a machine to study it up, cause this pocket's so clean. The body and the king, the X as an art in the scene, but art is no scene, reflections are far in between. One verse, swam the elite. Part of the scheme is part of a larger belief. I feel like hard in the
The red man, the scene where they're buried.
Yeah.
The Red Man cover, the homage to the Red Man cover. The dirt we did do practically. And to be honest, you know, I was saying before, like me and Gudgeon just love doing these weird adventures. And in my head, I was like, yo, we can just go to like somewhere, because we shot this in Montreal. I'm like, why don't we just go to Montreal, dig up a grave? And I wanted to do it practically. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, I got to think about if other people actually want to be buried. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. But we did do, it was green screen, but we did do all the dirt. So we did get a whole bunch of dirt and put it around them.
Yeah.
So we get the practical elements of the dirt.
Yeah. So for them, were they in a like, was it a box?
Yeah, it was like we just got like this, I guess cardboard, like thick cardboard, and then put a whole bunch of dirt on it.
And then they were sitting down.
Yeah, they were just sitting down.
Yeah. That's hilarious that you're like, yo, let's dig up a grave. And then
I was just like, you know why? Because I saw an interview with Redman and he did do that. I'm like, well, I can't pay homage to Redman and not dig it up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, but I'm like, you know what? That's going to be too much of a headache. But I loved how it turned out. Yeah, this was another scene where I just had a wide shot of them and I didn't know what to do. I'm like, how do I make this wide shot interesting? And then this might have been an accident, to be honest. I think I was playing with Photoshop's like AI, which is actually pretty terrible compared to like all the technology. You tried.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrible. Somehow it created this like sun, and then I'm like, oh, this is actually dope. And then I just finessed it to make it look good, but I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then I just put a whole bunch of bats around it. Yeah, a lot of it is just me working backwards of like how to make the shot interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily storyboard this.
Man, I even love Backwash's performance here. Their performance
is so good.
It was like the movement as well. And was there any directing on your part for them, or were they like, I know what to do, like I got it?
Yeah, I think Gudgeon gave them some direction in terms of movement, and Gudgeon is great at that. So like even when I'm directing, especially when I'm in the shot, I can't see it, but you know, Gudgeon is like a prolific photographer, so he's able to see like the way that the body should be positioned and how that transitions on camera, and he has a knack for that more than I do. So he's able to like give that direction of like, hey, keep your elbows out a little bit, but don't go past beyond this point. And sometimes, you know, like you might get like a pretty good performance, but then there's like 3 seconds of it that is like, oh, they're doing something with their body that just looks so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was this moment where they're just taking this cool step. Yeah, like you have to hand out in that cool way.
It almost feels very zombie-ish, but also very Exorcist styles. Like there's like that movement and the
Right. Because sometimes when, you know, especially on a music video, like it takes a bit for you to get warmed up, and you might not hit it until like the middle of the verse. I'm like, oh, that's a sweet spot, and I think they hit it there. That horse on fire was like literally the last. I added that like 3 hours before I uploaded this. Something had dropped that morning, and I was like scrambling. I'm like, oh, this is good. I know already what I can do with this.
That's a crazy image.
Those are the type of things I'm just like, at the rate that it passes by, it looks realistic enough. But for me to like recreate that practically would be next to impossible.
Bro, you need the stunt person. You need, safety.
Pyro, yeah, exactly. Safety permits. I'm like, it's
Got a
impossible.
horse, yeah. I know someone's gonna be like, "Yo, let's get a horse and light it on fire." You know what I mean? Because that's how you're thinking, right? In your
Yeah,
head, you're like, "How can
yeah.
we light a horse on fire?" And you're like,
Yeah,
"Ah,
exactly.
well,
I'm like,
uh,
that's what's so exciting. I'm just like, with the development of AI, I'm like, you would think people will be excited to do imagery that we could never before, do unless you had like $1 million budget.
for sure."
And now I would love to see creatives just really exploring and pushing the boundaries of what we can do with this.
And I think it's always just like comes back to that the budget and like where the money is for
Yeah,
the return of investment. Like it's not,
exactly.
but hopefully like stuff like this could really like bring it back.
This is an homage to Gaspar Noé, Enter the Void. I study Gaspar Noé a lot. Aside from being an incredible filmmaker, I love the attention to detail. I think that's what separates like a good director and
Mm,
a great filmmaker is that a great filmmaker considers every single thing that appears on the screen as soon as you hit play. That goes from like the way that the logos are presented to like the credits to the end of the credits. Every single thing is considered, like the weight of the font. It's not just the story being told in the middle. It's like, how are you opening with this? How are the transitions? Every detail is important, and that's what I try to do is like don't overlook anything until the video is completely gone to black. It matters. Even with these scenes, I'm like this took like maybe 2 days to figure out the right iconography and everything for that, and like presenting it in a cool way that feels cohesive. But
yeah.
that's that I just study like Gaspar Noé and Martin Scorsese. I saw this one clip of like Scorsese like fine tuning the weight of like the font of for the credits, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, do you see someone as prolific as Scorsese sitting down and knowing, how the weight of a font gives you a different feeling? And I'm like, yeah, that's like that.
That's insane because it's like, and no one will think about that of him,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, that's what makes him so genius. He's like nothing is overlooked. Yeah, I
Beautiful.
don't think enough people think about how fonts make you feel. They're always just looking at it, but like it might be, I don't know how to articulate it, but I know when I'm just scrolling through like beautiful design, I'm like, oh, like I feel a certain way. I already know what this is. You're looking at something expensive, but you don't know how to articulate it. You're like, this just looks expensive, or this looks like a certain way. And I'm like, every part of design is that it can make you feel a certain way, whether you're conscious of it or not.
And that's all
That's what
art.
makes an artist art. Is like they're aware of it. They're aware that this could trigger an emotional reaction from you.
The way everything is put together from the font to the fades to the lighting to the word like fashion though.
Absolutely, absolutely.